Our guest tonight is CTV pollster Nick Nanos of Nanos Research, a familiar face, of course, and the last time we saw you was election night. Let's talk a little bit about that and, you know, your numbers and those of your colleagues, other polling firms. Boy, it was right on.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I'm still here, Todd, because I did a good job for CTV.
But those were, you know, it was a, you know, the Liberals certainly had, you know, a big night, but so did the Conservatives, especially in terms of, you know, getting the vote. Oh,
popular support.
Yeah.
You know, let's face it, Todd, it's interesting. You know, with the Conservatives at 41%, you know, Pierre Poilievre, in terms of popular vote, is in the same category as 2 Mulroney wins, 2 Diefenbaker wins, a Harper win, and an R.B. Bennett win. So, you know, it's good news for the Conservatives on that front. Just didn't convert into a win in the House of Commons.
That's seat efficiency, right? Turning those votes into seats.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's something that they're obviously going to be having to work on. Look, you published a poll yesterday about the Trump factor and how that weighs on Canadians. It's still top of mind.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the thing is that, you know, when we look at what Canadians are focused on, Trump is still very much at the very top of the list, followed by jobs and the economy. But you know what, Todd? Those two things are really intertwined because people know that we rely on the United States. When the relationship with the United States is strong, steady, and stable, it's good news for both countries. And when it's not, it's bad news. So Canadians still fixated on Trump and the U.S. administration.
I think the popular sentiment was that our new Prime Minister had a pretty good face-to-face in his first sit-down with the American president, even though he didn't necessarily come away with anything solid in hand. Was that really the point?
I think what probably Mark Carney was trying to do was to set the tone and say that he can get in there and stand beside Donald Trump without getting roughed up like a lot of other leaders have been. But, you know, the thing is, for Trump, he's focused on the UK, he's focused on China. It's still too early to tell what might happen with Canada.
Do you think that'll satisfy those people who voted Liberal for, you know, his stand against the president?
Well,
was it a good enough performance?
Well, he didn't mess up. And, you know, the thing is that Trump sucks all the oxygen out of the room. Like, the reality is that when you're having a press conference with Donald Trump, he's doing all the talking. So there was no mistake. Donald Trump did say some nice things about Canada and Prime Minister Mark Carney. But the proof will be in the pudding when it comes to whether these tariffs continue or not.
Yeah. Okay, let's shift a bit to the economy, and as you say, they're very closely linked. Consumer confidence among Canadians right now.
Well, what we see since Donald Trump was elected, there was a significant decline in consumer confidence, but what we're seeing now in the post-election period is a bit of an uptick. Now, the big question is I think for Canadians, they're hopeful that the economy will start to improve, but it's still too early to tell.
Does that vary across the country, regionally? I mean, I think of Ontario, you know, the numbers, the job rate today, largely that unemployment rate ticking up because of the manufacturing, which is, of course, centered in Ontario. What's the sense among folks in your province?
Yeah, in Ontario, it's actually kind of on par with the national average, but one of the things, Todd, that really pops for me has to do with young people. Young people being more pessimistic than middle-aged and older people when it comes to the election. We also know, Todd, young people, many of them voted for the Conservatives. Usually they vote for the Liberals or progressive parties, but right now they're feeling the pressure and they're looking at the Tories.
And part of the reason why the NDP had such a tough night.
Oh, yeah, the NDP got absolutely crushed. Worst showing in the history of the New Democrats as a New Democratic Party.
Let me ask you about, let's continue on that, about young people, because we just had a piece in the earlier newscast, Callum Smith, talking about just how difficult it is for young graduates coming out of universities and colleges right now, if they're not in skilled trades, to find meaningful work as companies hang on. They're not spending.
Well, you know, companies in Canada and the United States are basically in a holding period. You know, the sad part is that young people are doing what they're told, right? They're going to college, going to university, they work hard, they can't get ahead, they're either underemployed or unemployed, and they're struggling just to pay the rent and they're struggling to pay for the groceries. So should we really be surprised that they think that things have to change? I don't think we should be surprised that they look at leaders like Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives, because for them, at least the last 10 years under the Liberal government led by Justin Trudeau, it just didn't work for them.
Right. And a lot of anxiety from people who do have jobs, is no one's feeling particularly secure these days.
Yeah, I think if we were to put one word to sum it all up, it's fragility. It's fragility among middle-aged people. It's fragility among young people about the future state of the economy, and people are worried. And it's a lot like the pandemic. Trump is disruption. We don't know how long that disruption will last or how bad the disruption might be.
Nick Nanos, good to have you in studio as always.
Thanks.
Great to see you. We'll take a break. We've got a lot more of your local show on this Friday night. Stay with us.